Hello ladies and gentlemen, I'm Binary Sus. I will dive you into an in-depth guide for the Honkai Impact adorable character Pitch Dark Hook the Great, to show you all possible optimal builds and playstyles. Hook's playstyle revolves around single targeted DPS that bursts enemies and is burn dot over time, with plenty of sustain to keep herself alive in harsh situations without needing the help of a healer. She can be played both as your main DPS or as a secondary DPS to break weaknesses. Now, Hook can be very versatile when it comes to light cons. Let us begin with the 3-star ones. Mutual Demise is the first one, which gives Hook whenever she's lower than 80% HP, crit rate, and depending on the superior position, she gives more. It's 12% at level 1, and level 5 it is 24%. This light con is not really the greatest. She can be very bad for you, especially in the late game, because she heals herself whenever she's injured and deals damage to the burned enemies. Therefore, this icon will be useless for most of the time and cannot really be used on Hook. Yeah, and in late game it doesn't give loads of stats because it's a 3-star. Next one, Shadow Home, the next 3-star one. It gives the wearer 20% more damage to enemies whose HP percentage is greater than 50% at level 1, and it gives 40% more damage. This is a great one, but still late game it doesn't give loads of HP or attack or defense in terms of stats. And it has a condition, therefore it won't really be that great. It's still usable in the early game and you can still use it. Collapsing Sky. Collapsing Sky is probably the best choice because it increases her basic attack and skill damage overall. Therefore it's very good, though it's a 3-star, it gives little amounts of stats still. That 40% at level 5 is very useful, and even at level 1 it's 20% and you can still use it very well. Now onto the 4-star ones. Let's go with the Battle Pass one first. The Battle Pass one is okay because it gives attack to Hook and it restores her some HP based on her attack, but still Hook already has some HP healing in terms of her skills whenever she attacks a burnt enemy. Therefore the secondary passive is not really useful unless you don't have any healer. If you run no heals, then it can be used, and that massive 48% attack is pretty useful, but still not the best choice. It's still usable in a certain style with a no healer comp. Yeah, you can go for it, but it's not really worth it to spend 5 battle passes on this weapon. Next up, Wolf Walk Time. This is probably one of the best, or if not the best, yeah, one of the best in terms of 4-star weapon. Light cone. So at level 1 it gives her attack by 80%, 10% my bad, and increases her damage afflicted to enemies with burn or bleed by 16% at level 1, and it increases to 32% at damage percentage and attack by 20%, which is great. You can increase her damage by a lot. It's like an extra planar ornament with damage boost almost, and you can still go for it. It's very useful. Next up is Under the Blue Sky. It's another 4-star one, which increases the wearer's attack by 16% at level 1, and whenever the wearer defeats an enemy, they get more crit rate by 12% for 3 turns, and that increases to 32% attack and 24% crit rate for 3 turns. This is pretty okay because Hook can easily single target attack an enemy one after another, similar to silly silly kills and skills, how it works, but it's still not consistent because you're gonna get a crit on a condition. If you're fighting one single boss, then it won't happen, but usually enemy battles have 3 enemies or 4 or 5 even, so you can actually proc it, but it's not really the greatest. The battle pass would be better one, or the Wolf Walk Time, which increases overall damage percent. Next up, Secret Vow. This is probably the best 4-star in terms of overall damage because he already increases overall damage by 20% of the world, and then increases by an extra 20% to those the enemies who have equal or higher percentage than the character. Therefore, if Hook is low, then she can do lots of damage, but still the second passive won't really proc, but the first one is very useful because at level 5 it becomes overall 40% and then an extra 40%. Therefore, it's pretty useful if you can get that condition going with 80% extra damage, which is like one of the highest damage modifiers you can get in the game. That's the one that I'm using, and I actually recommend it if you have it, at especially super position 5, because many enemies actually damage Cook because he's a destruction character, therefore she has the second highest taunt value. Next up, in the last 4-star Lightcon is the most welcome you. And it's okay because she's stacking attack percentage based on her basic attack, skill, and ultimate, therefore she can get 3 stacks maximum, even though it doesn't say it. You can get up to a stacking of 12% up to 36%, and then at max level is 24%, which goes to 24%, 48%, and then 72%. Which is plenty and useful to get 72% attack, but yeah, it's not really as good as the other one where you can get 80% overall damage, not just attack. On to the next one is the 5-star one, so let's go with on the Fall of a Neon, which is the Heta one you can get at super imposition 5, so it's pretty accessible for everyone. Whenever the warrior attacks, their attack is increased by 80% in this battle, which is great because you can stack up to 4 times, and then whenever Hook would do a weakness break, the Hook's overall damage would be increased by 12% for 2 turns, and that bonus is gonna be increased at Super Imposition 5 at 16% attack per stack, and then 24% overall damage for 2 turns. This is okay, but you need to be killing enemies. The stacking attack is pretty useful, but the overall damage one is not really as good as the 4-star, how's it called, the Secret Vow one. Apologies for not remembering the name. Yeah, we still recommend the Super Imposition 5 Secret Vow over on the Fall of a Neon, but still, since you can get 5 Super Impositions on the Fall of the Neon, it's still a great at Light Cone. And last but not least, something replaceable, the Lara one. Increases the warrior's attack by 24% at the Super Imposition 1, and whenever Hook is defeating an enemy or is hit, then she restores HP equal to 8% of her attack. And her damage is increased by 24% until the next turn. This, and it can only trigger once per turn. This is not really Hook's best light gun, probably it's pretty low in terms of optimization for the Hook, because though it gives attack, still Hook still heals by herself, so she doesn't really need an extra heal. So the extra damage overall is pretty useful, and if you can have it on Super Imposition 5, you can go for it, but still most of us won't get it, and I don't really recommend it. It's probably best on Clara if you have Clara. And it's better to use on the Fall of a Neon or a Secret Vow onto Hook, or even Wolf Walk Time. Hook's traces are very good when it comes to overall character, because he gives you plenty of HP and defensive stats, but also loads of damage and crit damage on top of that. And it helps her sustain and be overall more sustainable and doing constant single target DPS. Her first bonus ability gives her the healing that we talked about before, that restores her HP equal to 5% of her max HP whenever her talent is triggered. And the talent is triggered whenever you burn someone, so it's very useful. And her second bonus ability is chance to resist crowd control debuffs, which increased by 35%, which is great because Hook can easily get hit because she's a destruction character and she has the second highest value in terms of taunt value, because she's a destruction character. And her third bonus ability, whenever she uses her ultimate, Hook has her action advance forward by 20% and increases additional 5 energy, which probably saves her an extra turn in terms of ulti regeneration. So it's very good because you can attack again and you can get your ulti faster and you can get your rotation going in terms of attacking. And yeah, her damage numbers are very high for a character. Her basic attack is normal, and her skill is doing plenty of damage because she deals fire damage equal to 264%, equal to her attack to a single enemy, and there's a 100% base chance to get burn. And that burn deals way too much damage. It's 71% of Hook's attack, so you really wanna have plenty of attack to her and deal constant dot damage. And her ulti deals way too much damage. 432% attack if you have the Eidolons on her on level 12, which is the highest you can get on Hook. And that's loads of damage they can get though. And because many people have gotten hooked due to the seal banner, this is very possible. And if you haven't pulled on seal banner still, if you manage to get this high, it's very useful. And her talent is dealing at level 12, the extra additional fire damage, they got 110% of Hook's attack. And there even more energy, which is practically an extra basic attack onto an enemy whenever you attack them that has burn. So Hook is very great overall when it comes to talents, and which those talents play around her burn and her damage that stacks on burn afflicted enemies. So if you wanna level up her talents, all of them are worth it. Even the HP ones, which usually people would say no, because she actually heals based on max HP, and the more HP you have, the more sustain you're gonna have. Therefore, your healers won't really need to spend that much on Hook. They can spend their heals onto somebody else or themselves to stay alive. Who can practically have only 2 sets in terms of the Cavern Relics sets, but on the planar elements it's more diverse and you can go multiple ones. So let's go by them. The first set will be the Musketeer of Wild Wheat, which gives her attack and more speed and more basic attack, which she doesn't really use, but still the speed is very useful, and the attack is very great on her because she has high attack numbers. Therefore, it would be great for her. And the other set you could go, which is probably the better one, which I am using also, and I recommend, which is the best set for her, is the Firesmith of Lava Forging, which is the fire set, which increases the fire damage by 10%, then the skill damage increases by 12%, and then after she uses her ultimates, her damage is gonna be increased by another 12% fire damage for the next attack, which is great, because Who can easily attack again after her ultimate due to her advancement forward on her third bonus ability from her traces. And for the planar ornaments, she can go multiple ones. I would say the best one would be the Innate Assault with the critter, because Hook already has plenty of crit damage in her traces that she gets, so if you could go for the critter, go for it, because it increases her ultimate damage, so she doesn't get a follow-up attack, still it's consistent extra 15% ulti damage on her, and she can easily do plenty of damage and get loads of ultimates because of her regenerations on her talent and her traces bonus ability. Another one would be probably maybe for a dot build, which would play around the Thalia Kingdom of Banditry, because she would play around the dot damage, probably with Kafka, Serval, and Sampo in the future. Another one would be maybe the Celestial Differentiator, which plays around crit damage instead of crit rate. It's similar just like the other build, but in terms of crit damage you go for crit damage but less crit rate. It's kind of more gambly style, where you have to play around RNG. And another one would be the Pan-Galactic Commercial Enterprise, to play around the effect hit rate, even though you don't really want to play too much of it, but still you can play around it on the dot teams to just apply burn. Still, I would recommend to go maybe for Thalia Kingdom of the Banditry, but if you wanna go for the dot team. But the best choice for the DPS Hook would be Innate Sarsoto, in my opinion, out of everything that I have tried. Hook's Eidolons are very good for here because they enhance overall playstyle around dot or fire burn damage or his skill damage. So let's go over them. The first one would have here enhanced skill, deal 20% increased damage. This skill will be after you use ultimate, which enhances your skill, dealing a little bit of AoE. And it's great because you deal 20% overall damage, which stacks up on the other multipliers that you already have, which further increases your damage by a lot. And the next one, the second Eidolon, would be maybe one of the best, because it extends her duration of her burn that she causes by her skill. If you're gonna use her as a main DPS, this is probably the best one you can get, because it's very easy to get, because it's her second Eidolon, it increases her burn, therefore she can be more consistent in her damage. The third Eidolon is just extra levels on her talents. No, talents, that's trace, my bad, on her skill and basic attack. The fourth one is actually pretty useful, because whenever her talent is triggered, she has an 100% base chance to burn enemies adjacent to the enemy. Therefore, it kinda becomes more of an AoE, which you can, after you use your talent onto someone, you can move on to the next one. And the fifth one is just extra ultimate and talent levels, and her sixth one would be the highest damage increase, because she would do 20% more damage with everything to enemies afflicted with burn. It's great, not the best, but still, if you can get it, you can get it. It's not worth going for if you wanna pull for somebody else and not really become a hook main. But yeah, her best idol would be her second one, because it's very easy to get and very good for her overall playstyle. That's the one that I recommend. If you can go for the sixth one, go for it. But overall, her idols are not needed, but they are great quality of life changes that help her very much in her playstyle around dot and damage. If you want to see more, watch this video on the best build. Thanks for watching, subscribe, like and comment.